Hello, everybody, and welcome to my first ever Final Fantasy draft here on the channel. Huge shout out to Wizards of the Coast for the free preview account in this early access event so I could get this recorded for you early. If you do enjoy this video and you want more of an overview style video of the set with top commons, archetype overviews, combat tricks to be aware of, things like that, you can find my draft guide already posted on the channel. But for now, we are diving in. Our rare is Ultima, which is a strong card, 5 mana, destroy all artifacts and creatures, end the turn, which means it will stop any death triggers from triggering. That's the main way that's going to be useful. Also does prevent you from casting things afterwards. But yeah, we're going to go through pick by pick, play by play, talk through everything so you know what to do in this format. And we're going to play 5 games with this deck because I want to maximize my time in this event, but really showcase what the deck can do anyway. We've also got Cargo Ship, which is good for the blue-white artifact deck. You can use this to cast artifacts. We also have Albed Salvagers, so a card that can fit into a blue-black sacrifice deck or just any black deck, it's fine. There is this card from the bonus sheet, Deadly Dispute, but you got to be used to seeing these cards. 1/3 of packs will have them. And then in the common section, I think the best common is probably Stuck in Summoner Sanctum as a 3-mana removal spell in blue. So those are the main cards to consider. I think I like Albed Salvagers the best. I think the card's really strong. I don't always love taking board wipes because white decks often want to play to the board anyway, and that doesn't really help with that strategy. So I think Albed Salvagers is a fine start to the draft. I wouldn't have faulted someone for taking the blue removal spell. I think someone taking the board wipe could also be fine if you are trying to build more of a control deck, though I think a lot of the white decks in this format are more aggressive leaning, which is why I didn't really want to take that removal spell. Now, following up Albed Salvagers, as a black card, the rare is not very good. Kain gives himself to the opponent, and so you don't really want to do that. You play this, you give it to your opponent, yeah, it's not a great card. There's Black Mage's Rod as a follow-up, which is also, like, it's a fine card, but not a huge priority for me. 2 mana, 2/1 basically, and then it like starts pinging players. There is Judge Magister Gabranth, so that's an interesting card, can be really good in a black-white sacrifice deck, which is also where the Albed Salvagers shines. So I might just take this card because there's nothing else crazy in the pack other than like the Black Mage's Rod to just stay with black, which I don't really care about, and then Magitech Infantry. I guess I could start stacking up these guys, but that's not anything crazy. So reasonable start to the draft, but I'm not committed to these cards by any stretch of the imagination. I just happen to take this one because the gold card, multicolored cards are less flexible early in the draft because you can't play them in any deck except the one that they fit into. So we're not going to be committed to black-white. We're just like taking cards as we see them. This card is Sir Conrad the Grim. That's a really strong card. Another creature dies, it's put into the graveyard from anywhere. So if it gets milled or a creature leaves your graveyard, it deals a damage to them. So that can be very effective. There's also X-Death Void Warlock, and so that's a nice little way to stabilize your life total in black-green and eventually flip over to be a big creature. There is Ambrosia Whiteheart, so it's a 2-mana 2/2 flash that can return something to your hand, so you can save your creatures from removal, bounce lands to retrigger landfall. I think I'm going to take Sir Conrad here because going with Albed Salvagers, I can get 2 black cards, and the X-Death would be really good with Sir Conrad as a way to like fill the graveyard and things like that. Shinra Reinforcements could also be good in that deck, but we're just going to take the black card because we are more committed to playing black in general than to playing a black-white deck. And now we're going to take Fang, Fearless Lisi. It looks like green might be open. Earth Crystal is not really that good as a rare. I'm trying to make sure I hover over all the cards for as long as possible. But Earth Crystal is not that great because it doesn't really do much for 4 mana, and there's not a huge +1/+1 counters theme. So basically you play this, and then in the late game you start getting to add counters for 6 mana. So it's really expensive. This card's also not great in limited. By turn 6 you can cast your permanents anyway, so you don't need this extra mana. And then we've got a Command Beacon, which doesn't do anything in limited. There is, because we don't have commanders, there is Fang, which is a really good card. So when a card leaves my graveyard, I draw a card and lose 1 life. So it doesn't play particularly with Conrad, but it does care about cards like fill the graveyard like Conrad. There's Gaisaul Greens, which is a really good green card, and that card would play well with Fang. So Fang is great in black-green, though it can fit into black-white. And currently we're just sticking to our black cards and being pretty reasonably happy with how we're doing with that. So this card is Dark Ritual. We don't really want Dark Ritual in this sort of limited environment because powering out a card isn't great. Like, if we get an Albed Salvagers into play on turn 1, we're not going to be able to use that to snowball the game effectively. versus other things like Vintage Cube, where being able to power out something can really snowball the game. I'm much more interested in a card like Undercity Dire Rat, which plays well with a sacrifice theme, but I think I'd rather take Chocobo Racetrack as a 5-mana way to recurring and make a bunch of bird tokens, and I just think that's an interesting card. I really want to try it. It looks powerful to me when I first read it, and so we are going to try that. Even though it doesn't do anything immediately, it does have a powerful impact later on. And this card does fit well into a sacrifice deck, but we aren't really committed to that. And then there's Gubu Gardener. That's a potential green card as well. Now there is, this pack is a lot weaker. Galuf's Final Act is a weird one because your creature has to die and then you put the counters on something. So it's kind of like if your creature's going to trade in combat anyway, this is like a way to put a bunch of counters onto something else. But it does set you up to get 2 for 1 because if your opponent then just kills that creature that you're going to put the counters on, it doesn't go great for you. There is a Guada Solemn, which I think I am going to take here, potentially leave myself open to being a black-green deck that wants to splash blue. There's nothing else in this pack that really calls to me as a card anyway. Commune with Beavers is not a huge priority, and so I'm just going to snap up this land just in case we end up needing it. It's not a huge pick. This land, however, should not still be in the pack. This is a very strong card, and the reason for that is because it gives you 2 options. At the very worst, you can play this as a tap land, but in other scenarios, you can just play a 6-mana 7/7 because it creates a 1/1 that puts a counter on it for each land you control. It makes it even bigger if you have more lands, and so this is a very strong card, and I'm really surprised to see this still in the pack. Pick 7. This card I do not think should be in the pack. I think this card's worth taking very highly because the buyout clause of a land is such a high floor for the card. There's another Chocobo Racetrack. There's a Dark Knight's Greatsword, which is just a way to equip your creatures, turn your small ones into relevant sizes. But I'm loving the fact that I'm seeing a Xenarchand, and that's a really good sign for potentially green being open or just potentially other players not knowing what they're doing, which either one is kind of helpful for me, if I'm being honest. Or maybe, I mean, I guess I could be wrong, but like this card just reads out very powerfully to me. There's Airship Crash, so a very flexible way to destroy artifacts or enchantments, and then has cycling if they don't have something you care about. There's Namazu Trader, so you can make treasure tokens and then sacrifice things. I think it's between the Crash and the Namazu Trader. I think I'll take the Namazu Trader though. Get a sense for the card. Now, this is the pack that wields. So there's a Grand Pulse Ochu. So it's basically a 1-mana 1/1 Death Touch. And if you get to the extreme late game, it can grow a little bit. And then there's Vincent's Limit Break as a combat trick. It reads out very confusingly, but basically it changes the base stats of the card, and then it dies and comes back to play with normal stats. We do have some cards that would have some pretty reasonable effects with the Vincent's Limit Break. So I think we'll take that, especially because we could still be a black-white deck instead of a black-green deck. Though I would like to play green. And then we get Airship Crash. Perfect. The UFO is not a huge priority for me. Magic Pot isn't either, so we get the Crash. I think 1 copy of Crash is reasonable. Ooh, and then we get the Shinra Reinforcements, which is a card that actually seems pretty solid in a black-green deck that is trying to fill the graveyard, like ours is potentially, for a card like Sir Conrad, which cares about it, filling the graveyard for potentially any graveyard reanimation shenanigans. And we don't really care about Blitzball Shot, which is just a combat trick. Wow. Geisol Greens coming back is insane. I think this is one of the better green commons, and it's definitely a card to be taking highly. Balam Garden, oh yeah, that's the command tower. This card being with 3 cards in the pack is absolutely shocking to me, and I do not really know how to feel about seeing that. I mean, green's very open. We've got very late Chocobo, Racetrack, Geisol Greens, last pick Commune with Beavers. The people around me are clearly not drafting green. Or the people passing to me are not taking green cards. Okay, so brief analysis of our first pack and how it went. We got deep into black, speculated on a white card. White did not seem particularly open, but green seemed wide open, so black-green looks to be a good home for us. This blue card is not probably making the cut. This card's not making the cut, but this card really late is definitely a signal. The Regalia, I think, is a good card. 4 mana, 4/4 with haste, and it's very easy to crew, and it gets you a land, and so that seems to be a card that I would like to take here and use it to get extra resources. Plays well with Chocobo Racetrack because it makes you hit landfall and helps you just ramp up. There's also Crossroads Village, which is a card I like as a way to just make your mana a little bit better. And other than that, I think some of the white cards like Restoration Magic is a pretty good combat trick with a lot of flexibility, and it can be relatively cheap. Vincent's Limit Break might wheel. We already wheeled the other one. And right now, our main priority is getting some cheap plays. So maybe I'd rather have taken the 1-mana 1/1 Death Touch based on the way this draft has gone. But for now, we're pretty happy. Now we see our first Saga creature, or maybe I haven't seen another one, but Summon Fenrir. So basically for 3 mana, you can search for a basic land card. Then you get to cast a creature spell and enter the counter. And then you draw a card if you control a creature with the greatest power. So this is a really powerful, flexible option for 3 mana. That's going to be very helpful to us. And it gives us a 3/2 body. So if we play this on turn 3, it can attack and it can like block for any of the turns it's in play before it sacrifices itself. So if we like play this, get a land, and then trade it off with something, that's very good for us. And eventually it maybe draws us a card. The Gaius von Baelsar can be reasonable. Make them sacrifice a token or sacrifice an enchantment. But I think we're going to take the Summon Fenrir pretty happily. And then there's Black Mage's Rod as a 2-drop. We might need to start taking that sort of card to just get 2-drops into the deck. But with how open green was, maybe we can get some green combat tricks. This is a good red card, but I think our analysis of being in a black-green deck was pretty spot on. So I'm pretty okay with where we're at right now. We're seeing some good blue cards. Eject is a good blue card. But if you think about the way the draft went, we would expect to see good blue cards this pack because we didn't see really any good blue cards pack 1. So maybe the person passing to us was in blue. Reno and Rude is a totally solid 2-drop. So it can deal combat damage. And then we can potentially sacrifice artifacts or creatures to play the exiled cards. So that's a real tempting option. I think I'm going to take I'm going to take this because I do need 2-drops. I would love to get the land to make my mana base better, but I think in this case I just need the 2-drop because I only have 1, and this one can definitely be a solid option. Okay, now there is a Gubu Gardener, so 2 mana 1/3 that can tap to ramp me up to something more powerful. There's also Marlborough, which I think is actually a reasonable card to cast. It gets you a little bit of card advantage by making them discard a card. It hurts their life total and exile some of their cards, which isn't as relevant. But I think we are still in the stage where we're trying to fill out the bottom part of our curve. That's why we just took the Reno and Rude over the other 2-drop. And I think our deck will be able to benefit from the extra mana. And we are going to have some strong value plays or ways to sacrifice this thing in the late game to make it relevant. So I think we're happy taking Gubu Gardener here. Okay, so we got this card back very late last time, and there is a Ultima, Origin of Oblivion. I think this card's just a pretty reasonable card. 5 mana, 4/4, reasonable stats. When it attacks, you can turn a land into a Blight land, which means for you, it'll tap for 2 mana. For them, it won't tap for colored, which can mess with their mana a little bit. And I think that's just a fine top-end card to try out at the very least. There's also a red-green land. That would be my probably second pick. I don't think I need to prioritize the Bard's Bow that highly, and the odds of me wanting to splash something maybe. I'd rather have that, but I think getting a colorless 5-drop that can be pretty relevant. Now, again, we're just looking for good early game, so Heck Dies is a great fit for us. 2-drop makes them discard a card. If we do get some sacrifice synergies, we can sacrifice it, so like sack it to a Namazu Trader. But yeah, we're just still looking a little bit for sacrifice synergies, but we don't necessarily need them that much. Our deck is looking pretty strong right now. And then there's like Renoa Heartilly as a card. I don't think we're really trying to splash this sort of card, but it is just always keep in mind like powerful cards can be splashed if you need to. Though I am trying to just play a 2-color deck right now. Also, Vincent's Limit Break is a good combo with the Heck Dies because the creature will count as dying, and so that's a way to get the death trigger. I mean, the enters the battlefield effect again. Dovin's Veto is not a particularly great card. The Samurai's Katana, a really strong card, but we're not moving into red for it. We could take this card just as a way to splash. I think we'll just take the Vincent's Limit Break again, though. Get another version of that. Now, interesting pack. So this pack has Heck Dies, so that's a good option. It also has Chocobo's Kick, which we haven't looked at yet, but it's a removal spell that green gains access to. We are a little bit light on removal, and it'll deal 2 damage, or deal damage equal to the creature's power. And then there's Queen Q Gourmet, which will benefit us from making tokens. I think we are going to take... Yeah, I think Heck Dies is a fine pick, and then the removal spell is also a fine pick. I'm in black, so I'm going to hopefully get some removal spells later. Sorry about that. I am taking the land here. Again, if we want to splash blue, it's going to be relatively easy because of this land. Because we already have another one, and so we now have 2 ways to splash blue if we see a good card. But yeah, I apologize, but that was a pretty straightforward pick there. This is one we'll take it just in case we see a really good red card. No reason not to. We'll get a Resentful Revelation, I think, over Gigantode. This is a nice card to have one copy of in your deck. Just gives you some card advantage, I think. And is relatively low impact. Also fills the graveyard a little bit. Synergizes with Fang to some degree. We're getting another Vincent's Limit Break. So a few Vincent's Limit Breaks. We can take cards to synergize with it. We probably won't play every copy of this that we see. Iron Giant, a very expensive card. This card, paying 2 mana and a life is not the greatest. And then we get another Shinra Reinforcements. So overall, this pack went pretty well. I think the Hekdai's pick was close, especially because we are lacking removal. But now we can just take a Sephiroth's Intervention, be pretty happy about that. So this is just destroy creature, gain 2 life. We need some kill spells, and that card's going to get the job done. There's also Torgal, a Fine Hound. So when you cast your first human, it enters with a +1/+1 counter on it for each dog and wolf. So this is a wolf. So it basically makes our humans enter with +1/+1 counters on them. I think we have a couple humans. 2 humans, 3 humans. How many humans? We have 6 humans in the deck. How many are still going to be in the deck, though? I kind of want to just take the Torgal at this point. This card's really strong. 2 mana 2/2 that, like, makes all my humans better, and I have a good number of those. I'm going to just, once again, prioritize creatures over removal. Now I will take the removal spell, though, pretty happily. There is this Gaius von Balsar, which is also a human, would also be potentially useful, and we have Hekdai's and stuff to sacrifice to it. But we need to make sure we get some removal spells. And I have been a little bit, and this card's Hekdai's also plays well with Reno and Rude as a way to sacrifice things to that. But yeah, I don't regret taking the Hekdai's. I think it's going to be a pretty solid card, and it's always nice to just get extra pieces lower on the curve. And I don't really have a landfall synergy deck, but I do think the Chocobo Kick is a pretty good card. Torgal, a Fine Hound, is going to be pretty nice, I think, as well. I'm not really interested in the Blitzball Shot. Finn the Fangbearer, 2 mana 1/3 Death Touch is a great card. There's Evil Reawakened, not a huge priority for me. It just returns a creature with a couple counters. This is a good card draw spell, but we're not heavy blue. We're not going to splash it. And Finn the Fangbearer, 2 mana 1/3 Death Touch is just a great card. And then it does poison them slowly, but that's not the most relevant aspect of it. So this deck is currently 24 cards. Every time we add a card, we can cut a card now at this point. And I think here we can pretty safely cut Commune with Beavers. There is now Saz's Chocobo. So 1 mana, and then every time you play a land, it grows. It's pretty reasonable, I think. There's also the Undercity Dire Rat. There is Counterspell. We're seeing some blue-green. But we're not going to have 5 or more towns in play ever. Bard's Bow. Interesting card. Let's try the Chocobo. Now there's another Torgal. I don't know how I feel about having multiple copies of the same legendary. We do have a good number of humans, though. We have 7 humans. Maybe at this point I'd rather just take the black-green land. I do think Torgal's way better than some of my other options, though. I don't really want to play Commune with Beavers. It's funny because some of my worst cards are the humans. There's a Chocobo Kick. Perfect. Another removal spell. Also Vane's Treachery. Vane's Treachery is just a better card, I think. Kill spell, or -6/-6 if I sacrifice something. There's also Rydia's Return. That's a really good way to buff all my guys. I have a lot of creatures in this deck, 16. I think just getting another kill spell will be better for me now. I would have liked Rydia's Return, don't get me wrong. Now there's another Chocobo. This card again, these lands are really powerful, so you should be taking these. But we're going to take another Saz's Chocobo, I think. Over Grand Pulse Ochu. Q-Troop Forayer versus Wanderings, yeah. Now there's a fat chocobo we can summon. Vincent's Limit Break is not a great combat trick with Saz's chocobo. It's good with some of our other stuff, but Blitzball Shot is a better combat trick with the chocobo. I think we'll take the Relentless X ATM. Nice top end guy. If we get to late game, we can use the extra mana to bring it back. Nice little inevitability. We can mill it over with something. Gigantoad, also just a big creature. We don't need another copy of Limit Break. I don't really regret taking the... Turn a creature. I don't regret taking the extra wolf, but it's going to be interesting to see how this goes. Wow, we wheeled the land anyway. Huge. Perfect. It worked out beautifully. Okay, getting a dual land is really helpful for my mana base. Even though all my spells are pretty easy to cast, I'm pretty happy with how this deck turned out. Would I rather have an extra Chocobo Kick over a Heck Dies? I don't even think that's true. We might play this Blitzball Shot because we have some cards it goes well with. So let's just build the deck real quick and then play our 5 games and see how it does. So are we an aggressive deck? I think we actually are more of an aggressive deck leaning now than a defensive deck, though we can play both sides of the ball pretty decently. So the 2 Saza Chocobos are really just to take over the game or if we play them early. I think that playing this as a land is really nice because we can use it as a land or a spell. And so it makes sense that we can be like, okay, we'll play 17 lands. One of them is this kind of cool giant creature for the late game. The Fat Chocobo card, I don't think I really need it. Giving my creatures trample is not the biggest thing, and a 4/4 plus a 2/2 is reasonable, but I would rather just rely on my other late game cards. Gigantoad, I think it's actually reasonable. Namazu Trader. If you make a treasure, then attacks, we can sack another creature to surveil too. Could be relevant. We'll keep it in mind. Airship Crash. We only want one of those. We don't really benefit that much from filling our graveyard. Like we have the Relentless X. But other than that, do we have any? And then we have Sir Conrad. Reno and Rude. Oh, we also have Restless Revelation. We're going to only play 1 Limit Break, 1 Blitzball Shot. I think we can cut Gubu Gardener, maybe. Okay. So this is kind of a build. But I think we need to kind of decide whether we want to be more aggressive or more defensive, and I think we are more defensive. So we're going to cut... Like, we're going to be more slower. Slow and steady wins the race, I think, with our deck. And then just have these 2 guys to randomly, like, get opponents good. I don't think we need the Gubu Gardener. We already have the 2 Torgles, which do a better job at that. I think Resentful Revelation is pretty good for us. We probably only want 1 Shinra Reinforcements. Our human count is still at 6, so pretty reasonable human count. Namazu Trader is not the greatest card in our deck. We have a few cards that care about the graveyard, so I think that 1 Shinra Reinforcements is still good. Bard's Bow is kind of expensive. Two more cuts. I'm just going to cut the Vincent's Limit Break, and I'm going to cut the Airship Crash. Actually, no, I'm going to cut the Bard's Bow. I want to try the Airship Crash more than the Bard's Bow just to get an experience with it. My creature count's 16, pretty good, and we'll see how this does in the games. I can always make changes afterwards, but again, shout out to Wizards of the Coast for the free preview account, and let's dive on into the games and see what we're working with. And while we wait for round 1 to start, I want to shout out the NicolaiBolas Patreon. If you've been enjoying my videos, patreon.com/NicolaiBolas is a way to give back to the channel, help me make more videos, gain access to some cool bonuses like my card by card tier list and format thoughts document, and also special shout out to those patrons who support at the credits level. It makes a big difference, and I do appreciate it. And here we go. My camera. Okie doke. Classic stuff. I'm back. Beautiful. Okay, so our hand is great. This is the benefit of the Xenarch land. We will keep this. We would obviously prefer to draw a forest, so we can play one on turn 1. Hate to see that. This is really bad. This is why we're playing our Chocobos ourselves, though. This is horrific for us. Okay. Start the Chocobo scaling. If we'd had a forest on turn 1, we could have gone forest, Chocobo, play land, play Chocobo, play land, then we have 2/1/2 scaling up. Unfortunately, being on the draw against the Chocobo is not great for us. We're taking some damage. There's the forest we needed. Play another land that makes another bird. No attacks. This guy can now hold back the Prompto. We've got this cool little avatar, the Chandra Chocobo. I really like it. The little bird. Everything's going pretty well here for us. I mean, not the greatest. We've taken a good chunk of damage, but I think we're going to start being able to pull through. We've got this for the late game to get us a little bit more cards. Heck Dies can maybe do some stuff. We'll see. They didn't discard a card. I feel like we can outvalue them in the late game, hopefully. Oh, gosh. Chocobo kick. This is some Chocobo violence that we don't like to see. I feel like this game was determined by two things. First was that I didn't have a forest. If I'd had a forest, that Chocobo would have been an extra counter on it, though it still would have died to the Chocobo kick. But this one would have been bigger as well. And then the second thing that it was decided by was me being on the draw. Because if I was on the play, I would have also been able to get off to a better start. Okay, yeah, they are just cruising. Might as well do this. Okay. We're just going to play the most stats possible and gain some life. We can double block the Chocobo. Next turn, we can cut them off of red mana with our Ultima. No, that's when it attacks. Never mind. They have all spells in hand, so Heck Dies will still probably nab something going forward. Gosh, this is really frustrating. They just have, like, such a good draw. Gosh darn it. I have to play this guy, even though I'd much rather play Heck Dies to get their last card, but I just didn't draw another spell to play. And so having a 4/4 that can block their stuff is way more important here. I mean, I'm probably dead based on this attack. Yep, you lose some games where I mean, my opponent's draw was really, really perfect, and I was still pretty close to getting the win. I just needed, like, I honestly think if I had drawn a untapped, if I'd had an untapped forest in my hand, I would have been able to win this game probably. yeah, it was really that close. That was a tough loss. Also, like, being on the draw was a kind of a blow. Yeah, let's see my colors. I probably want to have more forests because of the chocobos. So my mana base is an even split here. But I'd rather have... Oh, no, I guess, yeah, 8/8, yeah. Like, I wish I could have an extra forest, but I don't think I can afford to. I guess chocobos, you really want to have as many untapped greens as possible. I mean, it's fine to play on turn 2 before your land drop. It just... That was... The way the draw lined up there happens sometimes. We still have 4 more rounds to get a redemption for ourselves. Also, I'm using the Titus avatar, so that's pretty neat. Okay, this is a good hand. Yeah, that game just... It snowballs out of control so quickly when they have the chocobo on turn 1. Wow. We are going to do this. Go get another forest. I think this is pretty good for us. Then this thing will come in with a counter. Two counters. Three counters. Oh my gosh, the combo, because it would enter with one counter, it enters with 2 additional counters. That's pretty awesome. No, we don't want to just because we'd rather to draw a card / hold back their guy. Wow, that's a good combo. So Cactuar has to attack here pretty much. Or it just goes back to their hand this turn. Okay, Grand Pulse Ochu. Love that card. Green-white is probably going to have some artifacts or enchantments, so we're just going to hold this card for now. This will enter with a counter because of our Torgal. Trading with the Grand Pulse Ochu. I will play the land to hold up Airship Crash. Sure. I'll bet Salvagers is a good card, I think. Just like draining... We've drained them for 3 life already. Oh no, we've 1, 2, yeah, 3 life already. That's a substantial amount of damage. Gosh darn it, that's a really good card. That was a huge draw. But like, hopefully you see how good that land is. They have another one? Oh no, they just get to play it. Yeah, that's how it goes, yep. Hopefully Chocobo Racetrack does some work here. Whoa, that's crazy. Because it's an adventure, they get to play this from their exile zone. So they're really hoping this thing flips something. So they whiff. So that means it's not an artifact or a creature. But every land I draw, I'm making a 2/2 that's going to be potentially lethal. You hate to see that. So next turn, this thing's going to go back to their hand. No matter what they do. So we don't want to trade with it right now. Okay, they got the Querl. Trading with Cactuar is not a huge priority for me. So if I draw a land here, I can force a bunch of blocks. Actually, no, because they have that. Okay. But I'd much rather trade with these creatures. Force as many blocks as possible. Get Querl off the board, get Torgal off the board, get the Grand Pulse Ocho off the board. This can only be activated with sorcery, so that's important to note. For anyone wondering. Sorry. The card, I didn't even, it just buffs attacking creatures, so it buffed all my guys. Oh, man, that's funny. I mean, I don't know why they blocked like that. They could have just blocked Death Toucher here, blocked 2/2, blocked 2/2, and it was completely irrelevant. Oh, that's funny, though. Maybe they were trying to concede anyway, and they just wanted to show me they had that card, but regardless, that was a funny way for that to go. We're 1-1 again. I will say, that game pretty much came down to me top decking the Sephiroth's kill spell. That was a pretty essential draw to make sure I killed their giant creature. I think maybe I would rather have Sephiroth than Torgal, although Torgal was fantastic that game. As you saw, I turned my guy into a 5/6 with the combo with the Fenrir. That's a really sweet combo. I did not even think about that, and that was super good. So we're 1-1, 3 more rounds to go. This is a sweet deck, I think. I will say, I think the first loss was just like, those happen sometimes. There wasn't a ton I could have done. The second game, I think I played it pretty well. I think the Chocobo card, making those 2 extra 2/2s, I mean, instead of drawing lands, I was getting 2/2 creatures that attacked as 3/2s, so that was pretty awesome. And I think I might want to try a combat trick or two in this deck because I need extra ways of pushing through. So that is a factor as well. Looks like I found an opponent, but it has not sent me into the match yet, but we'll find a match. Don't worry. So yeah, I think I might want a couple combat tricks. The one that like brings my creature back into play could be good. I just don't like that it's bad with my little chick. Okay, great. That is how it goes sometimes. Gave me extra time to discuss my cards in deck. I think the tension I have is that Saz's Chocobo is a very aggressive card. My deck isn't particularly aggressive, so maybe I'm not a Saz's Chocobo deck, but it's such an efficient card to have early on that I still feel like I want it. But this card isn't great with the Vincent's Limit Break, but this card really is good with Vincent's Limit Break. And that's where the tension comes from. Fang is also really good with Vincent's Limit Break. There's like several, but like my Chocobos aren't good with Vincent's Limit Break, so it's like there's a lot of tensions in my deck that I'm not sure which way they should be resolved. But maybe that's just the way I should have drafted slightly different potentially to make sure there was less tension. But you don't know exactly what you're going to get every time. So okay, this is a good hand. We don't have a forest yet, but we have the Regalia, which will find us hopefully a land. We have this 2-drop. We have a kill spell, and we have 9 green sources in the deck that we could top deck. And even if we don't find one of those, we'll find something. And also Gigantode with Regalia is a pretty good combo. If they kill this guy, my hand looks a lot worse. Because I'm really relying on the Regalia to do some stuff. Ooh, black-red. Nice, nice. Green, huge. That's a huge draw. Okay, so I got rid of a Summon GF Ifrit. Hopefully the Regalia does some work. Whoa, 3 colors on turn 3. Don't mind if you do. They're probably like a blue-black deck splashing red then. They're holding up a counter spell. So I think what I'll do is I'll attack and then play Gigantode. Shantoto, okay. So maybe they are just straight 3 color then. I changed my mind. I'm going to play this. Gigantoad's going to be a 6/6. Thanks to the Regalia. Okay. So what do they have? They have a kill spell. They have a removal spell. They have nothing. They have, Syncopate is in this set. And so, like, running out my guy seemed a little greedy. Slash, if they don't counter this, I get to get a creature into play that could potentially get me some card advantage later. Black Waltz number 3. Okay, that's fine. I'll trade my car for the Black Waltz. Wow. That's crazy. Okay. This is a legendary creature, remember? So they can only keep one. So that was a bit of a misplay, I think. It is a sad reality that in the early access event, you don't get a like perfect iteration of how your deck will do because your opponents might misplay. But then again, if you're playing at a pre-release, someone's going to misplay. Stuff like that. Thunder Magic, sure. Sure thing. So we're going to do it this way. Play this. Play this. Kill Black Waltz number 3. Attack them. Now, both of these creatures, if they attack, will be combined for lethal, and then Gigantoad. Cruise this. This card's really good. Kill a creature, gain 2 life is so good against aggro, and 4-mana kill spell is just what you want against other matchups. Okay, I mill half my deck. So they're just dead on board. Got the win. If they had made a different, like made a copy of this guy instead, I think I still would have won, but it would have been closer. They could have like made a copy of Black Mages, and then I would have gotten pinged that extra time. Definitely good options there for them, but nice little victory all the same. We're still cruising. Any cards that seemed unnecessary is of interest, of course. Like, would we like to change things? Ultima doesn't seem that good. The airship crash felt like it was a little irrelevant. You can't kill flyers, though. I feel like that's our most flexible spot is the airship crash. But I think we're just going to keep it as is. We're 2-1. We've got 2 more rounds to go. And the deck is performing nicely. Once again, shout out to Wizards for the free preview account in this event so I could get this recorded for you early. I am enjoying this draft. I think it's very... what's the word? Our deck is pretty solid. Our deck is pretty cool and like pretty satisfying to play. And it feels like there's a variety of archetypes. Like we played against a red-green aggro deck that like played very differently from that the Grixis kind of control deck we just faced. This is a great hand. The Torgal will help us play this card and this card on turn 3. Ramping out this card could be good. Torgal is really good. There's a lot of humans in this set. So them having priority there potentially means they have Syncopate for X equals 1. I don't always try to use Arena Tells, but That's how it goes sometimes. You can sometimes just tell. Okay. This is a human. And that's pretty good for us. We can play Ultima next turn if we draw a land. This can trade with this guy. This thing costs 3 to equip. We can attack with Finn. And if they double block, we're okay with that. Play this guy first, though, so we get the extra drain. Ah, the poison has started. We're in okay shape. If we draw a land, we get to do stuff. If we don't draw a land, okay, that's a crazy attack. They must have something else. Okay, they have another one. That makes sense. Okay, now once we start drawing lands, things are going to be great. If they kill our Torgal, though, we are in a little bit dicier shape. Okay, so it gives something vigilance, essentially. I think Ultima's going to be nice as a flyer to block the Dragoons. But yeah, as I said, if we lose our Torgal and they... Yeah, and we don't draw... Like, we need to draw a land this turn, I think. Our opening hand was 3 lands Torgal, so... And we've drawn only spells... I mean, not only spells we can't cast. We've drawn the Albed Salvagers, which will be useful. Oh, no. That's scary. Oh, Max punished. That sucks. I should have played this land so I could attack with the Chocobo. You hate to see it. So this can block one Dragoon's Wyvern. I mean, they have their counter spell still, so I'm super dead, but we're going to just do it anyway. Like, I know they have Syncopate in their hand, and I can't stop them. Because otherwise they would have equipped this thing to a Wyvern or something, I think. And I might just be dead on board. Yeah, this game would have been super different if I could have, Yeah, I'm dead on board. Yeah, I got mana screwed that game. I mean, the 2 losses I've had have not felt like necessarily deck problems. It's just been more like, okay, they're... Like, I wasn't able to deploy my hand. Like, in most games there, I go turn 4, play a 5-drop, and then turn 6, play turn 5, play a 6-drop. Like, I'm just like a turn ahead of schedule or whatever. Or at the very least, if I miss 1 or 2 land drops, because my hand was set up so I could go ramp, play up and big guys. They're all way bigger because they're all humans in my Torgal, and then I just didn't draw lands, and that's how it goes sometimes. But like, I don't think that was really a okay, my deck is bad. It was more of a okay, every so often you end up with hands like that where you don't hit your spells to play your 5-drops. Because if I'd been able to play Sir Conrad and keep attacking them or whatever, it would have been a completely different game. And the 3/3 Chocobo guy on the defensive is not as good. as when you're just attacking with, and I have no counterplay. So that's just how that game goes. I think if I drew a land a turn sooner, or I drew an untapped land, honestly, I think I need to just draw the land like 3 turns before that instead of drawing a bunch of 5-drops. Yeah. Oh well, that's how it goes sometimes. It looks like we're once again in that doom loop where we've matched with an opponent, but we won't get to actually play them. So we guess, but yeah, I'm just still thinking about that. Yeah, our 2 losses. I mean, we lost the first one. Their hand was pretty spectacular in the first game, and they were on the play with like kind of a perfect draw that they kind of crossed the finish line right before we could stabilize. And then that last game was just unfortunate in how it lined up once again. I think we kind of had an advantage, but our deck is still good, and this is our final round. We're going to try to get a nice little victory here to finish with a winning record in our first draft of the format. Lots of pressure, but, you know, I don't feel bad about the losses. Let's just say, put it that way. And there's lots to analyze. I think so far, our deck had, I think the 2 chocobos that we took potentially have skewed our deck in a way that's not ideal. Like, it makes our deck more aggressive than it wants to be, but they could also be very helpful. Like, in the first game, if they hadn't had all those removal spells, we would have had like 1 mana 4/5s and stuff. Okay, we're going to keep this. It is a bit sketchy, but if we do draw 1 land in our first 2 cards, we get to get that Summon Fenrir going, and Resentment Revelation digs 3 for a land, so it's way less sketchy on second glance. Okay, turn 1 Chocobo. This is why we drafted the Chocobo. It's going to help us win, and Chocobo is just fun to say, so that's also a good sign. Turn 3 Fenrir. Okay. Digging for a land. Perfect. And we even get to mill the Geisal greens. So that's pretty awesome. Turn 3 Fenrir, turn 4 Regalia, which is also a great combo with Chocobo. Okay, this is... Our deck is really letting us experience the full joy that it wants us to. We get to even crew the Regalia with the Fenrir. We have 2 swamps in play, right? Yeah, we want a forest. So the Regalia won't enter with a counter on it. But we have Regalia, Chocobo, Racetrack, which is a combo for sure. They're holding up some stuff. We will let them counter our guy. Because if they don't counter it, we just win, I think. Bummer. That's tough. Now if they kill the Chocobo, we don't get the benefit from the Fenrir either. But that would have been the case too if we had played Gigantoad and they killed that. It's a bummer. Oh, we still control the Fenrir. That's cool. That's cool. Nice. Yeah, let's just play the Gigantoad. We're not going to play this. We're going to save this. This is a more controlling matchup, so making a giant creature is going to be beneficial for us here. Oh, okay. That is definitely dying. We will certainly not let them keep this around. Okay. So if we draw a land, we can play our giant 7/7. We have this airship crash, which can kill flyers. We have these 2 things for when we get to 7 mana. Maybe we should have played this as a land because we have these two, but this is a giant creature that they'll have to use a kill spell on pretty much. Okay, Wyvern. We're going to play this slightly slower. So they might have some sort of instant speed card draw. We could have also attacked, waited for them to crew, kill the flyer. That could have been beneficial for us. But I like this. We've taken a bit of a waiting game because now we're going to have, this is a 6/6. This is going to be a 7/7. So it's going to be a 1/1 plus 6 lands. Yeah, so 7/7. We're going to make another bird. We're going to trigger the bird we already have so it can attack in. And blue-black doesn't really deal with the Sword of Enchantment very well. So that's another factor for sure. Is that if they don't have a way to buy back the Ultimacia, which is certainly a worry of mine, is that they'll just find a way to buy this back. But then they still have to get 8 cards into their graveyard. Oh, they have another Ultimacia. Oh, that sucks. You hate to see that. So they only have 6 cards in their graveyard. Okay, them attacking is good for me because... Sage Newliths. Okay, I don't love this. Try to take him down. So the benefit here, as I see it, is they don't have 8 mana for this to flip it. They have 7 because this thing can activate. Oh, there's only artifact sources, and this is not an artifact. Okay, so they can't actually flip it. Okay, perfect. Huge. That's huge. And they had the chump block. And we're going to have a Death Toucher that can block this guy next turn for cheap. Or we'll just, yeah, we have plenty of stuff to do with our mana. I am worried. Ultimacy is a scary uncommon. Like, if you don't kill this thing, you're like, okay, what do I do? But we have a couple giant creatures. We have good ability to block it right now. We can kill their flyer. Sage Newliths. And I'm pretty sure they have a spell in their hand. Because they, like, surveilled it to the top. Okay, so Ultimacia is not attacking. That's pretty good for me. Okay. Let's just try to end this, I guess. Okay. attack for 6. I can use this to kill the enchantment and free my guy on their end step so they won't know it's coming. Okay. Very interesting. And end the turn with my airship crash up. Rook turret, sure. So would I rather kill their 3/3 or free my 7/7? I think still free my 7/7. Okay. Send in the chocobos. So if I attack with everything, they go block a chocobo, chump, chump. They go chump block, crew, chump block, block 2 chocobo, block a chocobo, take 3. They have 2, 5, 7, 11, 13, yeah. I will attack with Finn, because then Finn is lethal next turn as well. And I'm almost certain they can't kill me. They have 3 blockers, so they have to chump chump, eat my guy, go to 1. Or they have a kill spell of some kind, and then I can just... Then either of my 2 powered guys is going to be lethal as well. That's not... Yeah, they have to chump block my 2 big guys. Wait, why would they chump with Ultimacia? That just makes no sense. Oh, okay, they have a way to bring Ultimacia back, maybe. Okay. So they wanted Ultimacia to die, I guess. So they have 2, 5, 9. 9, 10 power. But I'm going to have 3 more life in a second here. And now Finn is a lethal attacker, which makes my attacks a little bit better. Okay, they left a card on top. What the heck could that even mean? So I think we're about to be there. I think we're about to get it done. They kept a card on top. It has to be return all creatures to hand as a rare. Like all non... Whatever, okay. Boom! Locked in the 3-2 victory. Let's go. Our deck was pretty solid, I think. I think I just got a little unlucky in a couple of games, but really showcased its power level in the others. And this is a great start to the format. Once again, shout out to Wizards of the Coast for the free preview account in this early access event. I had a ton of fun in this draft, and I'll be making plenty of more drafts for you to watch in the coming days. But for now, if you made it all the way to the end of this video, leave hashtag wolffriend in the comment section down below, because I think Torgal, a Fine Hound, was the coolest card we had, and that little synergy with all of our humans was awesome. So hashtag wolffriend to let me know you made it all the way to the end of the video. But that's going to do it for this one. I hope you enjoyed it. Remember to hit the thumbs up button, subscribe for more, comment with your questions, thoughts, and feedback. That's going to do it for this one, though. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll talk to you next time.